Hello everyone, I'm Bethany and I typically do vlog style videos here on my channel. Recently we've started doing Olive's play series where she does play vlogs, but today we're doing something a little different. Every once in a while I do a sit down video. And today that's what we're doing. Today we're talking about Great Wolf Lodge. Specifically, should you go, is it worth it for you and your family? If you're not familiar, Great Wolf Lodge is a family resort very focused on kids in Grapevine. There are several locations throughout the US, but this is our first time ever going to one. So I went into this trip very uneducated, and I wish that I had watched a video giving me some tips before I went. The resort includes several places to eat, an arcade for the kids, games that they can play, mining for gold activity, there's a Build-A-Bear, and then of course there's the giant water park that's the main attraction. So that's the resort. We went in mid-April to celebrate Olive's 7th birthday and we had a great time. However, it was very expensive. It was on par with a weekend at a Disney resort, barring park tickets. It cost about how much it would cost to stay and eat at a Disney resort for 2 nights. So, I mean, that's a lot of money. And when I pay that much money, I have a high expectation of the benefit for the money that we paid. One thing about me is I am always looking to like something. If you tell a joke, I'm looking for it to be funny. Like, I want to laugh. I want to see the good. And because I do believe that you find what you're looking for, and the more you're looking for the good and the funny, the more the good and the funny is going to find you. However, I do also have to be honest when things are just not as great as I think that they should be. So today we're going to answer some questions. Is it worth the money? Would I go again? And what do I wish I would have done differently? Or what should you do differently if you're going to have your perfect Great Wolf weekend? So I'm going to try to be as concise and organized as I can, and I will also timestamp those different things. We're going to start out with some pros and cons, then go into the breaking down the invoice, and then we'll finish with what I think you should do differently or what I wish I would have done differently. So thank you so much for coming on this journey. Let's get into it. Let's start with the pros, because like I said, I'm a pretty positive person. What are the pros? It is very kid friendly. It's a kid resort and it is very much tailored to kids. Another thing that I really liked is that you have these wristbands to get you into your room. It's like a little RFID, whatever those letters are. I got them wrong. It's a little worse for wear, but it worked brilliantly the whole time. Didn't have a single problem with it, which we've had problems with digital keys in the past, and using magic bands to get into rooms, that's been tricky, but this worked just fine every time, no problems, and it lasted the whole trip, and I think it was great. The way the resort is set up, it is 6 floors, I believe, of rooms, and it is a very long hallway. And then the water park entry into the arcade and everything is down on the 1st floor. I say that because if you're not renting a locker, it's kind of a far hike back to your room. And so it's nice not to have to bring maybe your phone if you don't want to, your wallet. You can pay using this as well. So that's super easy and user friendly, and we love that. Go armband. Another thing about wristbands is when we went into the water park, they have a measuring stick, and it's like colored, like if you're this tall you can ride the red rides, if you're this tall you can ride the yellow rides, that kind of thing. So that way you get that armband, and going into it they'll tell you like Olive can ride everything except the tornado, Belle can do everything except the tube slides. So we go in, we have that expectation set, and we're not having to double check every single ride, like every single slide that it's gonna say this is a red slide, this is a yellow slide. And so that helped mitigate a little bit of the FOMO that Belle had. We were able to know going into it which one she wasn't gonna be able to do and kind of distract her from that, because Belle wants to be big. If y'all know Belle wants to be big, and Belle has FOMO. Another pro that we did not take full advantage of this time is that you have full access to the water park your arrival and departure day. So that means when the water park opened at 9 on Friday, we could have been there enjoying the water park before we checked into our room. However, we weren't able to do that because Bob's had to work and we had co-op, so it just didn't work out. So that's another pro, access to the water park all day on arrival and departure day. So let's get into the cons, because I had some cons. So the check-in process was an absolute nightmare. If you saw the vlog, that's what I said. I said it was a nightmare. It was like, why is this taking so long? When you're on vacation, you don't want check-in to be a hassle. You want to get to your room, you want to get in your swimsuit and get down to that water park and start doing the slides, right? So it took us a full hour to get checked in. The lines to get in to park were very long. Then the lines to get checked in, they had some kiosks and some real people helping check in. And Bob's ended up having to stand in line multiple times because he would get up there and maybe not have what he needed, because I booked the reservation and then I sent him in line to check us in thinking that it would be fine because we're married. However, that's not the case, and they needed my ID and my credit card, which, I mean, luckily I had. Like, I could have not brought that credit card, you know, and I mean, like, if I used it to make the reservation, why can't you just like pull it up that way, you know? But I feel like I'm getting into the weeds a little bit here. The check-in process was a nightmare. It took over an hour. The girls were getting restless. They had this big glass wall where you can see everybody else having fun in the water park, and that's cool. Like, we're getting excited about the things we want to do, but that can only last so long until we're like, dude, we want to be the ones in the water park. This is definitely something that you can have some control over, and when we talk about things I would have done differently, I will get into that so that you don't have a nightmare of a check-in. Hopefully, all the things that you need to do and know. But yeah, for us, it just was not a pleasant experience. So after we got checked in, we got our room keys, we got our room. It was really crowded, especially the wave pool. It was like just like people on top of each other. Like, I couldn't make my body go horizontal and not be bumping into somebody, and that's just not a good time. And guess what Olive wanted to do the whole time? The birthday girl wanted to hang out in the overcrowded people soup wave pool. So we did it, and we had a smile on our face and we made memories. But I wish there hadn't been so many people in that pool, you know? So very crowded. However, the lines for the water slides weren't terribly long at all. The slides that Belle was able to do, the non-inner tube slides, they maybe got like a 5-10 minute wait, but the other ones, the tube slide that I did and the tube slide that Bob and Olive did, we were both able to just walk right onto those. So had we been doing more of the big rides, I think we would have had a better time, because it seemed like most of the people there had smaller kids and were in like the kiddie area and the wave pool and like the little recreational pool, and not so much the big slides, which is what I thought would be like the funnest thing. But Olive she's really fine with roller coasters, but she's still kind of figuring water slides out. Pepsi. This is a personal preference, obviously, but I'm a Coke girly, and they only had Pepsi, and it was a real bummer for me because, as you'll see in our little perk package that we bought, we got refillable resort mugs, and imagine my dismay when I went to go fill mine up and it was Pepsi the whole time. I'm sorry if you like Pepsi, but it's not the one. It gave me like that bubbly caffeinated fix that I needed, but I hated every second of it. I know I said Pepsi is a con, and that's totally just a personal preference, but a true con of refillable mugs were that they were kind of inconvenient to get to. They did have one in the water park itself, which was nice, so you could, you know, fill them up through the water park as you're going. They have another one very near to the water park entrance, right by the pizza pickup, where you pick up your pizza mobile orders. And those were the only two that I found, and they're pretty close together. Like, for the whole resort, they had those two refillable stations. I understand that you want to have somebody kind of watching it to make sure people don't take advantage of it that don't have like the special cups or whatever, but I feel like you should at least have one right there, like in the lobby. I don't know, maybe multiple floors, since I had these forever long hallways. I feel like two was just not cutting it with the drink stations. The food options were much more limited than I expected them to be. There was the Loose Moose Kitchen. It's a buffet that I believe is open for breakfast and dinner. We only did breakfast one day. It was $50, and I was like, yeah, I don't think we need to do that tomorrow. I think I can go without. We got the kids those little like pretzel bites, and then just got them an early lunch because I didn't want to pay another $50 for that food. Like, it just seemed like a bummer. Like, I don't mind to pay money for good food, but I don't want to pay money for not good food, and I think that's valid and fair. So the Loose Moose Kitchen, I can't remember the other, I'll put the name on the screen of the one that we had the first night, which it was fine. Like, it was your standard theme park sit down restaurant, I would say. It was the burgers, wings, the girls got spaghetti, I got tomato soup and a grilled cheese sandwich, and I enjoyed it and I was satisfied. It was not the best I'd ever had in my life, but it I ate it all and I was happy. There was a quick service chicken restaurant inside the water park, but it closed when the water park closed. I forgot the time, but it was too early for us one night, so we ended up DoorDashing Chick-fil-A for an additional cost, obviously, because DoorDash makes everything more expensive. But when I tell y'all that Diet Coke was delicious, worth it. Worth the $58. We're already spending a butt ton of money this weekend. Why not? And a pizza place, a quick service pizza place. So we had the pizza for dinner the first night, and we didn't want pizza again the second night, but we didn't want to get dressed for a restaurant. So that's why we decided to DoorDash, because the chicken restaurant was already closed. So very limited food options, very mediocre food choices, not the best quality. And this is just like really nitpicky. Back to like the layout of it. Seating, they don't have like any spots for, like there's chairs and a few tables like out in the water park, but in the downstairs where there's like the ice cream shop and the arcade and the pizza shop, there's no like little spots to just chill, or even in the lobby. Like it's just, there's a couple of benches and then just like open space. So it's either like eat inside the water park where it's super loud and like there's water park, that's the atmosphere, or go all the way back to your room and eat there. An additional option is that you can get a cabana, which is basically like a tent. I think they have a little mini fridge in there, some like chairs, lounge chairs, but those cost $175 a day, and that just did not seem worth it to me for that hefty of a price tag. It's a pretty big capacity park. I mean, you feel it when you're in that wave pool. Like there's a lot of us there, and there's 6 floors, and then the hallway that you walk down to get from, because we were at the very end of the hallway, like opposite to where the water park entrance is. So you go up a flight of stairs to get to the second floor where we were, then you have to go down this hallway. When I tell you, it is the hallway from The Shining. It is the hallway from the Haunted Mansion ride, you know, with the candlesticks. It just keeps going forever and ever. And you're just walking along, like you're, getting back to your room, and you look up, you think like, our room should be coming up any minute now. And you kind of look up and it's like, you're halfway. And you have to do a whole nother half to get to your room. So, didn't love the layout of that. Would have loved it more if there were more floors, like not so wide, more tall. But again, that's just me being super nitpicky. It just almost was comical how long the hallway was. Like, I was just like, it didn't seem like it was real, The room overall was fine. It was a general standard hotel room suite. My husband Bob's travels a lot for work, and so a lot of times when we go on family trips, we'll go along on work trips, and we get just like a standard suite that has a pull-out couch and a king or queen bed, just like this one did. It was just like that. I do feel like we paid a lot for. I know that the water park is included in that, but let me get my invoice. So they broke the invoice down kind of weird, so it's a little tricky. But I have added up the cost of the total cost of the room with our advance deposit, fees. We did do a late checkout for an additional $60, which I thought was worth it. And the room rate, which for one night was $189.99 and the other night was $289. And then there were an additional, the grand total for the actual room part of it came to $879.83 for 2 nights. Now, again, that did give us access to the water park for 3 days. Keep reminding myself that. That didn't include tax. Tax for the room was another $95. So we're looking at almost $1,000 for just the room for this 2 nights. And I would expect a better room for that much money. A lot of the common areas were kind of like dusty and needed like a little refresh. I felt like our room was clean. I didn't have any complaints with that. But just, yeah, it wasn't anything special. I know you can upgrade to another room to get bunk beds. But again, we were already paying so much for the room. I was like, I feel like another $100 for bunk beds is not worth it. Like, I'd rather spend that money somewhere else on some activities or something, Additionally to that, we bought this. So they have these different passes. I'm only going to talk about the one that we got because that's the only one I cared to research about. But they have different levels and they recommend different ones for people with different ages. This is the family one. I think it's the most expensive one. I went ahead and did the math. If we would have purchased each thing individually, we would have paid $316. So we saved $16. Provided that we would have bought everything that we got. So there you go. Take with that information what you will. But with this package, We got a $100 food credit. So when I talk about my food budget later, it's a little wonky because this $100, like the way that they did on the invoice, they just didn't show it there, which is kind of weird. Like I would like to see, like, you know. So you get the 4 refillable souvenir sodas. So I got those, and I was able to get the girls lemonade, which is their fancy drink of choice when we're out and about. A popcorn bucket with unlimited popcorn. I already threw that popcorn bucket away. 2 Magic Quest games, the interactive games I was talking about with the wands. So to activate the game is $20, and then the wand is $20. So, and you get 2 of those. So $80 altogether for that value, $80 value. You got 1 10-pound family mining bag from the mining company to when you mined for the precious gems. Got a $50 arcade card. They were able to split the $50 between the 2 girls, so they each got their $25 card, and they went and played their different games for about 5 minutes because that's how long the $25 lasted. But it was good because we were like, okay, that was our limit. That's how much we have, and we're not going to play any more arcade games. So that was nice. We had, and then 2 12-ounce candy cups that we filled up at the candy, at the like souvenir shop on the way out. They had like a candy wall of no chocolate. It was all like sugary, like sour candies, which are not my jam. Like nobody has touched them. We still have the cups in there, like throwing big shade at the candy company. And then it also has some discounts that you can get, which we didn't use any of these because we were like, we've spent enough money here at this point. You can get Magic Quest mods, any 2 for $19.99. I think that's like games, like activating the different games. If you know, correct me if I'm wrong, if that's something different. 20% off all apparel in the store. A $200 family arcade game card for $150. That's a get discount. Also a $29.99 Build-A-Bear. Outfit not included. Those are the discounts that are included with our pass. And like I said, we saved $16. It was nice to have. I enjoyed having it. Wouldn't buy it again. We definitely would not have bought those 2 candy cups had we not had this. So I feel like it about probably evened out to $300 for what, so we about got our money's worth back out of it. And it was kind of nice to have, to not worry about, be able to just show this and be able to get whatever we wanted. But at the same time, you can pay with your little wristband card. So it's like, I think if I were to do it again, I would just pay for things a la carte. Okay, now food. And this is a little confusing because we had the $100 food credit that they didn't list out the food on our invoice. I had to like go back and be like, wait, we're missing some restaurants here. So I don't have like the exact amount that we spent at those restaurants, but I know the 2 added up to $100. So we'll go through it. We are missing Lodge wood-fired grill, the first meal we had that night, and we are also missing that Loose Moose breakfast. So those 2 meals put together were $100, okay? So in addition to the $100 that we paid for with the pass, so the credit, we spent an additional $50.28. So $150.28 in food seems pretty on par with what we would spend if we were eating at a Disney resort. No, it would be a little bit more at a Disney resort. So pretty standard for like, you know, when you're out and about. So I feel like that wouldn't be too bad, but then we add in the Chick-fil-A DoorDash, which was $58.06. So that brings our total closer to over $200. So it is what it is. That's what it was. Would I come back to the resort? I could be talked into coming back to the resort because the girls really enjoyed it and had a good fun time. And so we had a good fun time. I want it to be, I need some time. Probably at least a year before I think about going back again, maybe more. Would I do a late checkout again? Absolutely. I thought that $60 was money well spent. It allowed us to be able to go back to the room throughout the day on our checkout day, and we even took a shower before we left and then went and did like the arcade and all that stuff, so we didn't have to worry about taking a shower when we got home. So that was really nice. Back to the original question of do I think it's worth the money? Not really. However, I would go back again because the girls did think it was worth the money. They thought it was very fun and magical, and they said they want to come back again. And I did enjoy like the water slides and that kind of stuff. So I could be convinced to go back, but when I go back, I will do some things differently. And I think that you should do some things differently and learn from my mistakes. So we're going to get into that next. Next time, things that I will do differently is I will bring snacks or I will Amazon Prime food like we do sometimes when we're on vacation in Disney World. You can Amazon Prime food to the room and they'll hold it at Bell Services for you, and you just go right down there and pick it up, just like we did with our Chick-fil-A that we door dashed. You can do that with groceries. And I could have done that at any point on this trip, but it was just kind of like too late. Like, I like to order the groceries right at the beginning so that we have them for the whole time. So either bring or order groceries so that you have plenty of snacks, maybe some PB&J for some alternative meals, because I don't want to eat that food for every single meal. I just don't. And I don't think you do either. You know, just like your basic, like Papa John's pizza, they did half and half it, where you could do pepperoni and cheese. Like I said, again, back to the being super kid friendly and catering to kids. I thought that was nice that they allowed that as an option in the app. They're like, hey, did you want to do half and half? And I was like, actually, yes, I do. So that was cool. But the pizza overall was just kind of like meh. The chicken nuggets and french fries, not good. The Loose Moose Kitchen, not good. And the wood-fired grill was just mid. So that's my general overview of the food, and for that reason I would bring my own snacks or groceries. Another thing that I would do differently is our arrival day. I would definitely get there much earlier, maybe not right at 9 o'clock when they open, but I would definitely get there early in the day and take advantage of that water park access. And I would have, ideally, 2 adults. I would have me and Bob's, and we would send one of us as tribute right before 4 o'clock, maybe even around 3, and see if they're like letting people check in. Because if you wait to 4 to get there when you can check in, it's going to be a madhouse. And so I think that would have been a much more peaceful day, and we would have gotten more value out of our overall cost. And maybe I wouldn't be so grouchy about it costing so much if we would have got a whole other water park day out of it. So we'll do that next time. Okay, I think we covered everything. So if you do decide to go to Great Wolf, I sincerely hope that you have a good time. I hope that you take into account some of the things that I said so that you can adjust and plan accordingly. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye!